frugal friends, Hillary from homegrownhillary.com here. Today I wanted to talk to you about one of the biggest things that ever happened to our family. In 2020, we became debt-free except for our mortgage, and let me tell you, it has been such a huge weight off our shoulders, and I know what it was like before. So quick recap of our story. When we got married in 2018, we had about $40,000 in debt, and that was car loans. Both of us had brand new cars. For some reason, when we were young people, we thought it would be a good idea to both buy brand new cars. We had student loan debt, we had credit card debt, and we realized that if we wanted to get anywhere, we needed to get rid of our debt. We paid it off in 2 years, and that was also the time frame where we had 2 children, so we had to pay for all of their bills and medical expenses that comes with children in cash those 2 years too. So it was quite a bit more we had to spend than $40K. Today, I just wanted to talk to you about the 6 most effective things we did to get where we are now, because I know what it's like being in the trenches and everything feels really overwhelming, and so I just wanted to give you some tools for your toolbox. First thing we did to get out of debt was I stopped couponing. I know you're thinking, wait, hold on, I think you're supposed to start couponing to save money. No, I stopped couponing. I was buying newspapers and getting all these little periodicals. I was trying to find cashback apps on my phone. I was trying to learn the ropes and figure it all out. And all that happened was I got frustrated and angry, and I felt like a failure. Food companies want you to feel like you're playing and winning a game when you use coupons, but they're really the ones who are winning. Do I still look for coupons and hope that they might be useful? Yes. Do I still sometimes occasionally use them? Yes. But let me tell you, for example, this week, Huggies has enough coupons to bring a pack of diaper price down in half. It should be $22 and it was $11. It's still less expensive to buy generic brands. All in all, not couponing actually saved me hundreds of dollars because I wasn't buying the newspapers anymore. I wasn't trying to spend more money on the name brand products. And then sometimes the coupons wouldn't even work and you bought it anyway. I ended up finding a much more effective strategy than couponing to save me money at the grocery store, but I'll get to that in a minute. Second thing we did as a family is we set a zero-based budget. If you're not familiar with what a zero-based budget is, it's very simple. You basically just say where every single dollar is going to go in a month. And you're probably thinking, Hillary, why isn't that your number one tip? Isn't everyone saying budgets? I mean, yes. But at the end of the day, a budget is just a plan you're writing down. It only works as far as you have habits to support it. So if we made a budget without adjusting our habits, we'd either A, be lying, which means we're just wasting a ton of time, or B, we would be like only semi-effective because we still had all of these big spending habits. Budgeting does do something. I mean, there's a reason we talk about it. You have to write things down, start tracking them, and you realize, holy cow, I had no idea I was spending so much on this category. I mean, those were things we needed as a couple, but they just weren't the most effective strategy we used to get out of debt. You know what I mean? Third thing that really helped us get out of debt was being on the same page as my husband. So when we were dating, we had our own financial goals. We didn't talk that much about money. I mean, we did some. But we really had our own separate financial lives. And first, for the record, that is a good thing. If anyone is out there trying to control your finances before you've put a ring on it, that's a pretty big red flag. But when we got married, we knew we wanted to combine finances just like we were combining every other part of our life. We just didn't know how. And so we started with the Dave Ramsey program a month after we got married, and that really gave us a common framework, a common language to use to talk about money. We realized we didn't know anything about credit or insurance or high yield savings account, like all of these things that we should have definitely known before we were 25. And let me tell you, realizing how much I didn't know as a full-grown adult is what really pushed me to start teaching my high school students more about personal finance when I had them in my classroom. So once my husband and I learned how to set goals together and prioritize together, we realized that we could get a lot further if we were both chugging in the same direction. And it was only because we both decided that we wanted to be debt-free that we're even here now. The fourth most effective way we got out of debt, hear me out. Usually when you hear people talking about getting out of debt, one of the first things they talk about is stop getting your latte. I just want to say from the outset, if you and the person you are getting on a debt-free journey with together have a shared value of morning lattes from Starbucks, that's okay. That can be your shared goal. But it wasn't our shared goal, and especially because neither my husband nor I realized how much we were spending. Once we cut it out, we realized we had a huge amount of money just that we could use to put towards debt every month. We knew getting takeout dinner was expensive, but I didn't realize how much over the course of a month I was getting breakfast pizzas at the gas station next to where I was teaching, or like a brownie at the grocery store on my lunch break. I didn't realize how much all those little impulse purchases, because they were so impulsive, they didn't register in my brain as anything. I did some quick napkin math and I estimated that I spent thousands easily on just quick trips at the gas station, little bites to eat out for breakfast and lunch when I was a teacher and before we learned to get out of debt. And I cringe when I think about that because that wasn't my most important value. And my actions were not lined up with what I actually valued. And I just wish I knew more about how to line up my actions with my values, talk to little Hillary and explain things to her. But once we figured it out, once we had our budget and we saw everything that was happening in that direction, we could cut it out and start putting that money toward where we actually wanted it, which was on our debt. And I had food at home. And usually it was the healthy stuff that I should have been eating anyway. But I ate the greasy junk food, and then I wasn't hungry, and then all of the food I had at home, well, not all of it, but you know what I mean. So a lot of it was going to waste. And so actually I was wasting twice as much money, some on the more expensive takeout gas station stuff, and some on the food at home that ended up going bad, which is a shame for many reasons. Thing the next, I've lost count. I know I wrote it down somewhere. Thing the next is upskilling. We both had bachelor's degrees, but we knew we wanted me to be a stay-at-home mom. Both of us thought that was really important for any children we might bring into the world. And my husband's degree was in philosophy, and he didn't want to work in philosophy or do anything related to the field. We decided as a team that him going back to school was not in the best interest of our family. And so we had to think, okay, what are some other ways that we can build skills, not just him, but me too, build skills that have real world value and not just get a second job. So like start working like 2 different retail jobs or 2 different like no skill jobs. Figure out ways to build valuable skills and then get a job related to that. So my husband went and he earned himself some IT certifications. He got himself a job at a help desk, and then he just worked his way up from there. And that's where he's currently at. I started freelance writing on the side when I was still teaching, and I used that as like my side gig, and we squirreled that money away, and that was going toward debt. I learned things like online marketing and SEO, and I used those to build articles for clients. I wrote a few ebooks. When I quit my day job teaching, I had that set of skills to fall back on as a secondary source of income if and when I needed it. At the end of the day, and this is a frugal living channel. I love talking about saving money. And you can save money till the cows come home, but if you don't have enough coming in, it doesn't matter how much you save. So you do need to find ways of bringing in more income at some point. By the way, if you're liking this, please leave a like in the comments so I know that it's valuable to you and you can help it spread to more people. So thank you. All right, you wanna know it? The most valuable thing, the most effective thing we did to get out of debt was finally get control of our grocery spending. When I was in college, single, not even engaged yet, I just wandered the aisles at the grocery store and I grabbed what felt good. And I had a list. I remember I had a list like, oh, you're out of milk. But aside from that, I just grabbed what kind of looked good. I have absolutely no idea what I spent on a given week for groceries, aside from the fact that it was at least $60 a week just for myself. So if you didn't know, the USDA has this great little tool called the Food at Home Cost Indicator. And they publish monthly reports on how much food costs in America at any given time on average. And they have 4 different levels. They break it up into a liberal spending plan, a moderate spending plan, a low spending level, and then the thrifty plan, which is also what they base the food stamp budgets off of for the year. So if I was spending $60 a week in 2015, that put me at the moderate level of spending, which is like the second to highest. Guys, I now spend about half of what this USDA cost indicator thinks the bottom of the barrel is. They think a family of my size, I just did the math, they think a family of my size should be spending $860 a month, and our budget is $500 a month. And that's for me, my husband, my 2 toddlers. I've got one coming, but he doesn't count yet. So say it with me. Meal planning works. Keeping a price book works. Looking at sales and figuring out when things are going to be at their lowest price works. If you're wondering where your money is going each month, you're probably eating it. I was. And we don't just eat cheap processed crap. That's actually not the most financially sound thing either. When I got married, I got this burst of energy to start doing all these wifely things. Like I tried to learn to sew and bake bread and, dust. And that is when I had learned that I had been doing grocery shopping completely wrong. I started planning my meals. I started tracking sales. I started tracking which stores had the best prices on which kind of products. I looked at all the different options around me, and I basically gave myself a tax-free raise because all of a sudden we had hundreds more dollars in our budget every month. Funny how that works. I have an article on my website talking about how to create a price book, which is basically a way that you can comparison grocery shop. If that's a topic that's interesting to you, you can let me know in the comments, that'd be helpful. But I did some math when I wrote that article, and I calculated that I saved at least $11,000 just by changing our grocery shopping habits over the course of 2 years. When you look at the way I used to grocery shop as a single person and compare it to the way I grocery shop now, factor out the difference, $11,000 in 2 years. And the year is now 2022, and groceries are a heck of a lot more expensive now than they were in 2020. My grocery shopping habits haven't changed. Aside from I do grocery pickup more. It does cut back on impulse spending, which is even better. All right, those were the 6 most effective things we did to get out of debt in 2 years. I have a kiddo who just woke up upstairs, so I will have to see you again another time. Bye, YouTube.